the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 24th day of June in the year 2022. I'm Paul Holden, your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, your Rockies fan extraordinaire, loving this team all 27 years of my life, following it and covering it for you right here on the Locked On Podcast Network for over a year now. You can see lots more of what I do at paulfholden.com or give me a follow at paulholden33. Today on Locked On Rockies, I'm getting philosophical with the pod. I'm kind of talking big picture. I'm kind of talking comparisons across sports, as there's a lot of really cool stuff going on in the world of Colorado sports. And I think it's important to talk about the Rockies' role in this as well. So that's going to be the theme of today's show. I'm kind of going to talk about the difference in at least the position teams find them in. It seems like philosophies, mindsets from the team, mentalities about the teams, different teams in Colorado. And of course, we'll talk a little bit about tonight's matchup as well. But we did a good job of recapping the series yesterday with Peter Pratt over there on Locked On Marlins, if you want to check that out. Hey, before we get started, today's episode of Locked On Rockies is brought to you by Blue Nile. Blue Nile, make your moment sparkle with jewelry from BlueNile.com. And Locked On Sports listeners get $50 off purchases of $500 or more using code Locked On. Also want to thank you for making Locked On Rockies your first listen of the day. It's an exciting time. The Colorado Avalanche are mere hours away from taking the ice in Denver, one game away from taking the Stanley Cup home for the first time in over 20 years. Now, I start this off. I've now made two Avs references in the beginning of this Rockies podcast, and while it's, understandable given the state of what's up, they're like, this is a Rockies podcast, isn't that? Not an Avs podcast. And you're absolutely correct. The Rockies are going to have a hard time remaining relevant. The Rockies need to take notes. The Rockies need to learn from these other ideas and mentalities and mindsets and these other approaches of these teams, how to build a team. And you're like, oh, hockey and basketball and baseball, they're all different sports. How are they going to carry over? It's not that. It's the mindset. It's the belief in Colorado. It's the belief in Denver for some of them. Let's take the Broncos, for example. The Broncos have never bought into a small market identity. The Broncos have never bought into not being one of the prominent NFL franchises. The Broncos also haven't been always successful. The Broncos, at least for my life, have been mediocre for most of it with huge flashes of greatness. And I think you can kind of attribute, though, that's a similarity between the Rockies and the Broncos. But the Broncos have been there and done that. The Broncos know what it takes to get there, and the Broncos are willing to do that most times, not all the time. They just did. They just started again. After they won the Super Bowl, they kind of went in a lull for a little bit. But that's what I mean. When you look at the mistakes the Rockies have made as an organization, when you look at the missteps, when you look at the way things went down, and when you look at the perception of the Rockies in comparison to these other Colorado sports teams, it's a massive difference. The Rockies are in a much different national mindset and especially even in a local mindset than the Broncos, Avalanche, and Nuggets. The Avalanche and Broncos are champions. It doesn't matter, no matter what, they're champions. And while the Nuggets haven't been all that successful, they've shown commitment to players that of great caliber. They haven't always gone I don't know as much about the Nuggets as other things, but they don't let an MVP type player go. The Rockies need to figure out how to stay relevant. And it kind of circles back to all of my arguments. All of my wants for the Rockies is of this team desperately needing a refresh. This team desperately needing a new identity. This team needing from someone from the outside to come in and bring new life into this franchise, which had it. Even with the people I have criticized the most as front office members on this program, Jeff Bridich had the team. Dick Monfort had the team. And if they had the same championship, the same mindset, the same mentality as the Avalanche, for example, knowing what pieces you have to have and commit to. Nathan McKinnon's been on some crappy Avalanche team. So is Landeskog. But they knew how important those players were. They knew what they needed to do to build around them. And what happens? The Avalanche are one game away from the Stanley Cup. The Nuggets take a different mindset. They open up the box. They get creative. They go with a random draft pick, and a Taco Bell commercial airs in the middle of the draft pick. What happens? He's a back-to-back MVP. And if the Nuggets are at full strength and healthy with some of their other pieces, there's an argument to be made the team at least makes a deeper run into the playoffs and is a better team. The Broncos won the Super Bowl, have now landed two of the biggest name free agents to come here. The Broncos are a household name. You find Broncos gear in random Goodwills across the United States. The Broncos have never settled for less most times. I know they have. But in the big grand scheme of things, the Broncos would not have traded away their best players to go in a different direction. The Broncos, they know that, and these other teams have evaluated the talent. The Rockies have not. And now, when you're sitting there asking, can the Rockies stay relevant? It's going to be hard. In my description, multiple players from CSU's basketball program got drafted. I'm pretty sure a Buff went in the first or second round as well. Why is anyone going to spend their time, other than it conveniently happens to be there's not a lot else going on in the summer? Obviously, baseball being summer sport outside of your weekend golf matches and your NASCAR races, and of course your WNBA action as well. But baseball, the four major men's sports, it gets that share of the spotlight. The Rockies get to stay relevant because, of course, that's what it is. It's an enjoyable Colorado day. That's what keeps the Rockies relevant, not the Rockies record, not the Rockies performance. And that's what makes the ownership of the Rockies happy. The difference between some of the ownerships that we've seen in this town are some of them are committed to rebuilding and building championship teams and doing what it takes to at least get there. You're not always going to get there. You're not going to be consistent. The Avalanche had some bad teams not that long ago. So did the Nuggets. So did the Broncos. So did the Rockies. What's the difference? The Avalanche are one game away from the Stanley Cup. The Broncos just got a new franchise quarterback. And the Nuggets have a back-to-back MVP, and at healthy were considered to be a favorite at some point. The Rockies were considered to be a fourth-place team in the NL West, even with Chris Bryant. They have now gone on to be incredibly mediocre and, if not bad, honestly, yeah, they've been a bad baseball team. You're 10 games below 500, and it's June 24th. What gives you any reason to be excited as a Rockies fan right now when you're surrounded by other teams being successful, taking your eyes, taking your gaze, taking your attention away? We used to, there's always a thing of there was too much Broncos talk in the offseason, but I can't really blame people for being way more engaged and way more interested in what might happen with Russell Wilson and these matchups in this juggernaut of the AFC West than they are in caring about how the Rockies did on June 24th, because they're 10 games below 500. They're not good. They traded away their most exciting and most valuable pieces. Even take the rotation out of it. I'm sorry. Folks, you see it on every TV broadcast. Whose jersey do you see on every single TV broadcast at a home game? Even at away games. What's the one jersey that I have, my authentic Rockies jersey? It's a Nolan Arenado jersey. And I know I'm sour grapes. I know I'm bringing up a thing. I know I'm playing the hits, but that's something I think about. What is going through Dick Monfort's mind right now when the Avs are one game away from the Cup? The Nuggets have a back-to-back MVP and a roster that they believe can compete and has shown the ability to compete when healthy. And the Broncos just went out and made one of the biggest moves, embracing a different shift. Look at it's not Colorado, but The Rams have said, screw it. They've gone completely non-traditional and leaned into their strengths. The Rockies have high attendance. The Rockies are not small market. The Rockies have a TV deal. The Rockies have a radio deal. The Rockies are popular because of Coors Field, not because of the team. And it's really, 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 really disappointing and really, really frustrating that that's the case. Don't get frustrated when you're looking for jewelry and head to BlueNile.com, because when you head to BlueNile.com, you can celebrate all of life's special moments, from crafting the custom engagement ring of their dreams to gifting a classic and timeless jewelry piece, all at prices you won't find at a traditional jeweler. Whether you're ready to pop the question or you're celebrating a milestone moment, find jewelry as unique as them with the modern convenience of online shopping at BlueNile.com. Blue Nile is simple online tools that let you choose the diamond's shape, size, and clarity, as well as setting style. Blue Nile's bench jewelers will then handcraft their perfect engagement ring. Each ring is one of a kind. And if you're looking for fine jewelry, but you have trouble choosing, well, Blue Nile has the jewelry experts available 24/7 on the phone or via the chat. Make your moment sparkle with jewelry from BlueNile.com. And Locked On Rockies listeners get $50 off purchases of $500 or more. This podcast exclusive includes engagement. Use code Locked On. That's code Locked On. Plus, every order is insured, ships free, and arrives in discreet packaging that won't give away what's inside. Shop stress-free and find your forever piece. Go to BlueNile.com today. Also, got to tell you about our friends at BetOnline. BetOnline is your number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all of the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's NHL playoffs and Major League Baseball. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. And BetOnline.net remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite sports and events, including MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts. In the live chat, Reggie George says, not with only one watching. I don't know if that's necessarily if it's a reference. The Rockies, it's tough because this whole culmination of all this Rockies, of all this what ifs that I always bring up with the Rockies, it just would have left or gone in and fit in so perfectly. Hold on, I got a nice leaf blower blowing in the distance here. Hold on, I'm gonna go try. Never know what's gonna happen when you record live. Anyway, my point is, all this cool stuff happening in Colorado sports, all of this other stuff, and the Rockies were the ones that were finally at the front of it. The Rockies had it. They did. I don't know if the teams win a World Series. I really don't. There's a lot of good baseball teams, but a lot of teams have made interesting runs, and with what a lot of people could consider less. And they just went the complete opposite direction. And I just don't see it. And it's kind of the most prevalent from the Avs. The Avs had two players that they believed in, and it's different sports, I know. And I don't know all about the Avs, but I've heard the name Landeskog and I've heard the name McKinnon for a long time now, for a bit. And I know that they were good. And the Avalanche have built and crafted around them. They've built a team around them. They said that in their mindset, they looked at the players, the ones that they have developed, the ones they have seen, the one that have proven themselves as an elite athlete, an elite contributor to your team. And instead of returning your back, instead of not doing what you said you were going to do, instead of actually following through with commitments, the Rockies are now in the position they're in. Can things get better? Yes. Can the Rockies get performance from other players not named Nolan Arenado and Trevor Story? Yes, and they will. They have. But at the end of the day, would the Rockies be in a better position with their playoff roster or the roster they have now? Or even dive deeper than that. Break down what went wrong in the Milwaukee series and actually analyze and get rid of some of the pieces that were failing and build from there. Why was the talent evaluation of first base the limit of Ian Desmond and Daniel Murphy when you had CJ Cron bouncing around from team to team to team? Why are you hitting CJ? Why are you not hitting on CJ Cron 2 years ago? And even if you had CJ Cron 2 years ago, he would have been consistently better than those two players. Why are you not looking for that option, a actual first baseman, instead of your wackiness that you did with Desmond and Murphy? When you had the control of the players, when you had the team, when you had the rotation, why? You have to give them the super bullpen when they went out and spent money failed. They did go out and spend money and failed, but then they got. It must have just been that. That must have just been what put them off. Because when I think about great players for the Broncos, and when I think about great players for the Avalanche, and when I think about the team that's been constructed right now for the Nuggets, because I would argue that the Nuggets are in arguably the best position they've ever been in since the prime Melo days. That deep run where they got crushed in the Western Conference Finals, I'm pretty sure. Was it the finals? Did they make it to the finals? Anyway. I just don't think they'd miss as bad as the Rockies did. And I think because of that, the Rockies will continue to be irrelevant in terms of the championship talk. I want the Rockies to be a championship team. I want the Rockies to have the same pedigree in Major League Baseball that the Broncos have in football and that the Avalanche are about to have in hockey. And honestly, have had in hockey. Instead, it's a team that's just not even close. Not even close to the amount on the same level of the rest of the major four men's sports in Colorado. Shoot, the Rockies might even get at some point might be less relevant than DU hockey. If you're just going based on championship. Well, they already are compared to DU hockey in terms of championship relevance. The Rapids have brought home the cup. When will the Rockies be the team that embraces it and dives in and goes all in like they could have done, like they had the foundation to do? When? I do not know. Smart money's probably on never, at least until the team is under new ownership, until something changes. But here we are in another June. Broncos training camp wrapping up. Season's a couple of months away, and the Rockies are 10 games below 500. They're going to be an afterthought unless something drastic changes and the Rockies really turn things around. And it starts tonight. Rockies taking on the Twins, and the Rockies are playing a road series. And so you know how that goes. The 30-40 Rockies taking on the 39-32 Minnesota Twins with arguably the best leadoff man in baseball. Buxton is really, 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 really good. As long as he stays healthy. And the Rockies going up against Bundy today. 4-3, Dylan Bundy with ERA in the 5 range. And his last start, he was pretty darn good against the Diamondbacks. 8 innings pitched, 4 hits, 1 earned run, 7 strikeouts. Now, it's the best start he's had in a bit after going 2, not even 3 innings there in Toronto earlier in June, where he was got 8 hits. 8 hits, 5 earned, and a walk with only 2 strikeouts. His next start after that was better in terms of hits, but not necessarily in terms of earned runs. 5 earned runs off 5 hits, 1 strikeout. So are we going to get, is it going to be a sign that Bundy is locking back in as one of the first members of the rotation in the starting half of that rotation? Or are we going to get that one where the Rockies can take advantage of and swing the bat? Take a look at the Rockies starters and a lot more for the Rocks. But first, as the sun comes out and small businesses are back in business, LinkedIn Jobs makes it easier to grow your team. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the people you want to interview faster and for free. Create a free job post in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to reach your network and beyond to the world's largest professional network of over 810 million people. Then add your job in the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to help spread the word that you're hiring so your network can help you find the right people to hire. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Did you know every week, nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonmlb. That's linkedin.com/lockedonmlb to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. German Marquez on the bump for the Rockies tonight. Marquez is now 3-5 on the season, 6.6 ERA in his last 3 starts, 6 innings against San Francisco, 4 hits, 3 earned, 4 walks, 7 strikeouts. San Diego, probably one of his best, if not his best start of the year. They got the 6 hits, only the 2 earned runs, 6 strikeouts. And then against San Diego on the 18th, 5 innings pitched, 8 hits, 4 earned runs, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. It's a who are we going to get type of day with Marquez, as it has been for a bit. Are we going to get German, who's going to be able to go some distance and get out of trouble? Or are we going to get the German that is getting barreled up and getting rocked out of the park? Who knows? I'm hoping for the latter, not the latter. I'm hoping for the first one because, man, he's still a Rocky. I'm desperately waiting to see get locked in and do something special. Short, sweet, and kind of easy today on the Locked On Rockies podcast. We'll be back on Monday breaking things down, all things Rockies. So have a great rest of your weekend. Hopefully we're celebrating a Stanley Cup victory tonight for the Avalanche. And make sure you go follow Locked On Avalanche so you get all the great coverage there. Folks, make sure that you're also checking out all the great sports podcasts available on the Locked On Podcast Network, including Locked On Broncos, Locked On Nuggets, Locked On Avalanche, Locked On Rockies, Locked On MLB podcast. The list goes on and on. You can follow me, Paul Holden, at Paul Holden33. Your subscription to the YouTube channel is a massive help for me. So if you wouldn't mind subscribing on YouTube, it'd be a huge help. We're also free and streaming on your favorite streaming service. Until next time, I'm Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.